What is that timeline? So I'm at the point where, like I said, I've got to make a decision at some point. My lease is coming to an end. How much
Mhm.
time should I typically allot? And I know it's a variable based upon the area and the type of building and that sort of thing, but give me some bookends on some, an idea of what to expect.
Yeah, it definitely can be a very big variation. If you're going into a building that's already zoned properly, that doesn't need a ton of repairs, that you're going to be able to just kind of hit the process, running, so to speak. A lot of times you'll see like a 45-day due diligence period and then a 30-day closing period. So you're talking 75 days from contract execution till closing. However, if you're up against it, it's a bigger property, it's going to require more due diligence. If you have to go through a rezoning process or conditional use permit process with the city, that's when you can really start getting into some different variations. Knowing the city you're working with has a lot to do with that. Some cities move quicker than others. Some have a heavier docket than others, that type thing. Also depends on the project. So, I have one right now that my client is the buyer. He has to go through, it's two parcels being sold, in one deal. Both of them have to be rezoned, and he has to do a conditional use permit. Luckily, they're allowing him to simultaneously do all three of those, but it's still going to be an intense process. So and it's a complete change of use, converting a church to multifamily. So there's a lot that's going into that one from an engineering standpoint and plans, and then working with the city on all these permits and approvals and rezoning and everything. So on that one, we're looking at 180-day due diligence with some possible extensions built in that as well, just to get to the closing period. Larger scale projects, the same guy, one of his partners in Richmond, is doing a $35 million complete redevelopment project, and those you can start to get into years versus months.
Right.
So again, you're talking a big difference from 75 days to maybe a year and a half, 2 years, even more in some cases. But that's kind of a quick breakdown of how it'll shake out.
So essentially, there's no one answer. It's the more complicated the transaction, the property, what's involved, the longer it's going to take. And so it's important then, I guess, in your opinion, for people to come to you sooner rather than later when they start thinking about this idea of buying a building.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my clients that I put in a lease deal a couple of years ago on a 5-year lease. He called me recently to kind of start setting his plan, because when his lease expires, he does want to own. And so he was like, "Hey man, I'm probably way ahead of the game. I'm really calling you to ask when I should call you."
Right.
And to be, I told him, "Hey, I think we're about 2.5 years out. Like, this is not a bad time to start planning, to figure out what the finances are going to look like. What you can get for what number. Also have clients that, go in, we're looking for a building for a while and can't turn up the right thing. And they say, you know what, let's go build it. But now you're talking a longer process to actually find the land, develop the property, and, actually put the structure up. So if you waited until a year out to even start the process, and then 4 or 5 months in, you decide you want to build, now you're way behind the 8 ball, because you're not going to have a building when your lease expires. So I think it's never too early to at least start batting around the ideas. And we might say, hey, it's actually not go time yet, but let's go ahead and start putting those steps in place so we know when it is.
Right, because buying a building is a long-term strategic plan anyway, right? I mean, it's not a short-term decision. We're going to be here for 2 years and then flip this thing and sell it. I mean, it has to be part of your overall business strategic plan, which I talk a lot about in the book, that you don't go into it lightly, and you do it with, as you said, due diligence and a measured approach, so you get the optimal outcome.
Yeah, absolutely.